This video is going to tell you a little bit about Max MSP, kind of what it is, and why you'd want to use it. In order to do this, I'm going to compare it to some things that already exist, so you kind of know what it's not. So Max MSP is a graphical computer programming language. That basically means that you make programs, you make things that you can run on a computer to do whatever you want. You make these programs, but you do it instead of just typing out text only, which is traditional in a programming language. You make objects, little physical representations of stuff you want to do. Objects are like tools. So I might make an object that's a metronome. Type the word metro. So it does have text here, but then notice this. I have this object here, some physical box with the word in it, and it has places on the box that allow me to connect it to things and do things with it. This metronome thing, this metronome, this tool, can be connected to whatever I want, and then it'll basically click like a metronome here at whatever interval I want. It's much more capable than that, but this is fine for a start. So an example to give you on the introduction video for Max is you connect Metro to some little thing and it beeps. Taking this object, this tool, it's a musical tool since it's a musical graphical programming language, and I connect it to something else, the thing I want it to control with metronome clicks. This is like a little light thing, which I'll tell you about later, called a bang. One more thing, I need to turn the metronome on. So I make an on and off toggle switch. Now when I click here, it goes in half-second intervals here, 500 milliseconds or twice a seconds. Okay, so this is a little program I just built in Max. You may be asking yourself, why would you want to do that? Well, you wouldn't want to just do this. This is lame. The point is, though, to explain that you can create things, you can create programs, things that do stuff, using musical tools that you connect together. And these musical tools are represented by little graphical boxes and other stuff. And connecting them together is represented by these little lines that you basically drag from one place to another. This one then shoots its information off to this one. If you connect them together in ways that work, you can make them do all kinds of things. They have other ones for doing things like making, obviously making sounds, manipulating sounds, and so on and so forth. The point of using Max as opposed to something else is to give you tools to do things with more precision, more options or flexibility than you would have with other tools. Finally, you can just build things that never existed before, and you can make things interactive. You can connect hardware, devices that sense things. You can connect those to the program. You can connect things like your iPhone wirelessly to it and control what's going on. You can connect all the software programs you have together in interesting ways with the program. So you can connect things and you can interact with them with the outside world. These are all things that you can do in Max, and they're not easy to do, if not impossible to do, with other software. So what's this other software I'm comparing? I'm comparing softwares like Logic by Apple, or Pro Tools by Avid, or Sonar by Cakewalk, or all kinds of other ones that exist. These things are called music sequencers, and they record lots of different tracks, lots of different audio recordings or MIDI recordings, and they help you put them together in time. Basically, they help you organize all the parts of your song so they play at the right times together. They also let you control the volume of each of these things. These programs are great and effective, and what you probably want to use if you're going to be making most types of traditional music. They do a really good job. There are other things that are there to make your life easier for just editing tasks. Say you record a lot of lectures of people, or you record a lot of concerts that just take 2 microphones and record a concert, and you have one concert to edit, and you don't have a bunch of different instruments to put together or anything like that. Nothing complex. All you want to do is stop and start the recordings to make tracks on a CD or something. Cut out some clapping. Do basic editing stuff. If you're just working with one track, then you'll work with an audio editor as opposed to a sequencer. And they typically call them 2-track editors because they're actually made up of 2 different 1-channel tracks. The name's stuck, and we still use it even if it seems counterintuitive as a 2-track editor, but it basically works with 1 track, 1 stereo track. So examples of those are things like SoundForge, Audacity, which is a free editor, and there's some other ones out there as well, Wavelab for sure. So each of these ends up editing your files and dealing with just one of them at a time. Max MSP isn't so great at either music sequencing, it's getting better, or doing 2-track / 1-track audio editing. It's not that it can't do those things. It can do pretty much anything you want. But it's going to be a lot more difficult to do those things than just to use the already functioning, nicely working, and pretty looking sequencer that you can buy or or even probably download for free, because there are a lot of open source ones out there now too. It's going to be harder to do it in Max, and it's going to be harder to do the 2-track audio editing in it as well. You can do all of them. It'll just take a lot of time to build it, and a lot of people have already spent their lives building better versions of it. So it's probably not worth the time and effort you put into it, unless you just want to learn how those things work and get the educational practice. One final note is Max has a free, which they call open source, so people can modify it and make it better as they wish. It has a free counterpart called PD. PD is created by the same person who originally created Max. Okay? And it stands for Pure Data. This is free, and this can be used on Macs and PCs and stuff as well. So why would you use this thing and not? Well, a lot of things in PD aren't as pretty, maybe aren't as polished, although some things may be more so. You don't necessarily know, though. It could be smoother experience sometimes to work with something that is open source. And there may be other things in here for PD not available through Max. Vice versa as well. Why would I use Max, and why do I use Max instead? It's significantly easier to get through it when you have little programming experience, and has more extensive documentation, easier to understand documentation, so on and so forth. But PD is getting better all the time. It's getting better documentation. And again, the price, unbeatable. Many of the things I tell you about for Max also are going to be true for PD. So if you have PD, much of this will make sense. In fact, a lot of the musical tools that you get in Max are the same in PD, and a lot of extra tools that you can add on to the programs. A lot of those are available for both PD and Max because there's active communities for each of them, and they build stuff that works in each of them.